Hello and welcome to the Heresy Lodge. I am your host, Dylan Cooper, with our constant co-host over here.
Gavin Franklin.
And I did not forget your name this time, so that was awkward last time. Thing of note, you guys, we talked about our YouTube last week. It is open, and we kind of have some plans for it. Gavin, if you kind of want to go over those.
Yeah, we've got a lot of housekeeping to actually keep up with today. So if you guys aren't aware, we do have a YouTube channel. It is the Heresy Lodge on YouTube. You can find our Graham McNeil interview on there, as well as our last podcast, which was the review of Prospero Burns. And we're going to be posting our podcast on there every single week. You can see me and Dylan. We're trying to get everything situated and do some test stuff. So, yeah, you can see Dylan a little bit better this time. You're not looking at his back the whole time.
You still see the chub, though. I can truffle shuffle on request.
He's been doing pretty good with the truffle shuffle for the past couple of years. But, yeah, so we do have a lot of plans going forward, not just with the YouTube channel, but also the podcast in general, and also how we interact with our viewers and listeners. So for the YouTube, we are both really wanting to get into the 40K miniature game. I've been a part of it for a while. Dylan has just recently started with the Grey Knights Army, and we wanted to do some battle reports, some tips and tricks, and maybe even a how to play kind of intro video.
Yeah, just like a beginner guide, because like I'm new, so it's also like you guys learning with me at the same time. I think it'd be a fun dynamic and kind of makes it easy to watch. I think to see someone like, oh, this guy's also new, so let's see like what type of questions he would ask, because a veteran might not know like what the hell's going through some newbie's head. They're like, oh, why don't you fucking know this? Like, dude, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it can get really complicated, so it's cool to kind of approach it from that beginner perspective. And also with the YouTube channel, we have all kinds of different things that we could utilize, right? So we've talked about doing painting tutorials. Both of us really suck at painting, and as weird as it sounds,
we're gonna get better.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be awesome. It will be a journey.
Yeah, and as weird as it sounds, my mother is very good at painting, so she actually paints a lot of my miniatures in her spare time. So we've talked about different dynamics with that. When it comes to the podcast and the books, we will obviously still be following along with the Horus Heresy, but we're expecting to do more special videos closely related to the ones that we did, like what is the Emperor's plan?
Yep.
The Graham McNeil interview, we've talked about interviewing some of the other authors, doing combination interviews with some other podcasts that are out there that we've seen. So yeah, there's a few different things we've talked about doing, but most importantly, we want to get your guys' feedback. What do you want to see us doing? Do you want to see us playing a certain tabletop game? Do you want us to see us playing, 30K or 40K tabletop? Do you want to see painting tutorials? Do you want to see us play video games? We talked about all kinds of different things. Whatever gets your guys' peak interest would definitely be what we want to pursue.
Yep, and speaking of like how we did the episode of the Emperor's Plan, we plan on doing another kind of special episode after each anthology.
I think it's anthology.
Yeah, so after each one of those, we're probably gonna have like a special episode. Honestly, we probably should have discussed this before we went on air on like what we wanted to do for our next one. It's kind of up in the air right now. We'll talk some as we go through the reviews for here and preview and figure something out and give you guys a actual thing that we're going to do.
Yeah, I think in my mind, some of the big topics that we can discuss are the legions, more specifically, now that we know a lot more about them, which legions we felt have been left out. We can talk more about what we thought the authors missed. Mm-hmm. And what they probably should have brought to the table, or some stuff that really baffled us.
Yeah, I think one thing too, just be like a good catch up on like what the hell has happened.
For sure, because there's a lot, and to go book by book by book every week. I mean, if you're listening and following along with us, which I'm sure not a lot of you are, a lot of you probably already read or haven't read the books. Mm-hmm. But if you are following along, that's a lot to read. I mean, we know because we have
we are caught up and like, holy fuck. Yeah, we have full-time jobs, both in relationships. A lot of time right there, just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this week though, we are going to be previewing Age of Darkness.
Yes. Before that though, we have beer.
We do have beer. This is a good beer.
It is. I've had this before. If anyone likes to make beer bread, highly recommend this for beer bread. It is so good. Gives it that nice vanilla flavor in the bread. Oh,
What the fuck is beer bread?
you've never had beer bread?
Dude.
Dude, your life is going to change.
I can just imagine because your wife is like a baker.
Yes.
So I can imagine like one day she's like, hey, would you want me to make you some beer bread? And you're like, oh my god, that sounds amazing.
It's really, really good.
Did she make the beer bread?
I mean, you can buy like a thing from like Trader Joe's and you just have to add the beer to it.
That's so crazy. What does it taste like?
Bread, but delicious. It's like super, like especially, like it depends on the beer too. Like with this beer, it's like, so it has like a nice hard outside, super soft inside. Like with this, it has like a nice like vanilla flavor. Oh my gosh, it's so good, dude.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of banana bread.
Kind of,
But with,
because
like,
one's
vanilla.
banana, one is beer.
well, okay, so you tell like that hard outside, that soft inside. I'm like, banana bread, it gets me hard. I'm not gonna lie. When
I mean,
my
I enjoy
girlfriend-
me some good banana bread.
Oh yeah, when my girlfriend makes banana bread, I know she wants the dick. It's time.
She's trying to wine and dine me.
Mm-hmm. I have to try out beer bread next. It's on the plan. So this beer is from Breckenridge Brewery.
Fine
Breckenridge.
ales and lagers.
Was it?
It says Breckenridge Brewery, fine ales and lagers.
Isn't Breckenridge? Isn't that like a ski place?
Dude, I don't know.
Pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's like a really rich area. But yeah. So this is definitely out of state. What state is it made in?
Colorado, Littleton.
Colorado. Breckenridge, Colorado, yeah.
And Fort Collins, Colorado.
So it's vanilla porter. I don't like porters. I'm not a big like dark beer drinker, but this is delicious.
It's really good. It doesn't have that like super like heavy feel. Like it tastes like a lager with some vanilla in it.
Yeah,
Not
it
like a
really
porter.
tastes like a Sam Adams almost.
Yeah.
With a vanilla hint. So highly recommend this beer if you're looking for a beer to drink. This is a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
If
And
you-
great for beer bread.
Great for beer bread. Try beer bread. We are
Yeah, if you haven't, you need it.
sponsored by beer bread. All right, let's jump right into Age of Darkness. So
This one has a bunch of stories.
I love the cover of this
The cover is really cool.
because it looks like Horus beating the shit out of some stuff.
Yeah.
And it probably is. But when you open the book and you look at all of the different sub-stories, one of the sub-stories is Little Horus, which makes me think that this is actually Axamon beating the shit out of some Imperial Fist.
Actually, yeah. Actually, let me see that. I'll be able to, you should be able to tell from his face. Yeah, I think it is.
That's cool. So you have like a miniature Horus that looks exactly like Horus.
Well, that's why it's called Little Horse, right? Because he looks just like him.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Because anyone that picks this up and doesn't know about Axamon's character is like, oh, look, that's Horus. It wasn't. It wasn't Horus.
Still can't get over how ugly the Primarchs are.
They are super
And the
fucking
Space
ugly.
Marines, like, especially like all the like, oh my god, they're so beautiful. Like, look at this motherfucker. He's ugly as hell.
You notice that all the bald ones are evil?
Except for Fulgrim.
Well, what I'm saying is if the Primarch is bald,
Yeah.
he is on the wrong side. Except for the black one. Except for Vulcan.
Good old
You got-
Vulcan.
Porrabo, Horus, Alfarius. Am I missing a bald Primarch?
I have no idea.
I think that's it. Oh, Lorgar? Yeah,
Yeah, I can see
Lorgar's
Lorgar
bald.
being bald.
Yeah. All the bald ones are evil, unless you're black.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right. So this anthology here is split into
Like 9?
yeah, nine stories. Had to count there. I'm not all the way through reading this. I've only read the first 3 of the 9. One thing that I've noticed, especially about the first 3, is a lot of these short stories tend to be like not at the right time.
Yeah, so these are supposed to be like prequels and sequels of other stories.
Mm-hmm. Because automatically, one thing that I've noticed is most of these short stories take place after Calth,
Yeah.
which is not for another 3 books.
Yep.
So I thought that was a little weird. I kind of think in my head when I read these books, like, how would I turn this into like a TV show slash movie thing? You know, because they're doing the Warhammer Plus, and I think they could do some amazing shit if they did it right.
Right.
And one thing that I think with these anthologies, it would be very similar to like Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so like you would have like a main movie series or a main TV show series, and then you would have this like other spin-off series related to it that would have these anthology stories, and you would release them whenever it makes sense in the timeline.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And so to read though, these anthology stories always kind of seem out of place. The last books did not seem out of place. The last anthology, which was
Tales of Heresy.
Tales of Heresy. That's right. I thought most of those made a lot of sense.
Yeah,
for where they were. But these were a little strange. So to start out the story, you have Rules of Engagement by Graham McNeil, fantastic author. What did you think?
Was kind of interesting. It made me think that the Ultramarines aren't as gene stock as I was expecting. Like, they're kind of fucked up.
Yeah, they're an interesting chapter. So this story follows the Ultramarines, and to kind of give you guys a bit of a preview of what you need to know going in, is the Primarch of the Ultramarines, and this is kind of stated in the very beginning, Rabute Gilliman, he creates a doctrine called the Imperium Secundus. And this is like a kind of a big issue going forward, the Imperium Secundus. I don't want to spoil too much about what happens with Rabute Gilliman, but especially after Calth, which is No Fear, he becomes a huge character. Like, probably second, third most important Primarch in the story.
Neat.
Yeah. And I'm not like a huge fan. I'm not a huge Rabute fan. He's very dull.
Yeah, I can see that.
And in this story, you kind of get the like surgical, tactical things of the Ultramarines, because that's how they are. So the Imperium Secundum is supposed to be a book that teaches all kinds of things. One of them, the main things, is how to fight.
Yeah. And like strategies and like tactics.
Yeah.
Movement.
I would compare it a lot to something like The Art of War. Right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But in the 41st millennium, or actually the 40th millennium here, because it's like you can like tactically say you're in this situation, and then it goes to this database and tells you what to do.
Yeah.
Based off of the Imperium Secundus. It also does a lot of other stuff. Rabute Gilliman, notably, in all of Warhammer lore, he's there to write laws and stuff like this. So this isn't the only document that he writes that changes the Imperium. He does some crazy stuff with the Astartes legions. He does some crazy stuff about midway through the heresy when he believes the Emperor could possibly be dead. All kinds of like laws that he passes, because you have to remember that Rabute Gilliman is probably the most influential Primarch because he owns like a fourth of the Imperium.
Yeah, makes sense.
The Ultramar Segmentum is like a huge swath of space that he had already conquered by the time the Emperor discovered him.
I just don't know how. Like, we've seen him twice. You see him at the end of this story, and we saw him in First Heretic, and both times I was just he's kind of just a douche. It surprises me like how much influence he has.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I really think that the Ultramarines are as influential as they are because Games Workshop pushes them.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know why they chose them as their like poster boys, the Ultramarines, but that's like their shit. Like the Ultramarines is the thing. I honestly think a lot of it came down to, hey, what are they called? Interest groups.
Yeah.
And Games Workshop sat down and was like, take a look at all of these Marines. Which one do you most appeal to? And they're like, the blue ones look cool.
Yeah, the blue
That's
ones
the one we're
with
going
the
with.
little Roman symbol.
Yeah. It was like, we can sell the shit out of that because like 75% of people responded that that's what they would look to. But as soon as you dive into the lore, the Ultramarines are kind of, I mean, they're badass, don't get me wrong, because they're Space Marines, but
Yeah.
there's better chapters you can model it after. You got the Space Wolves, you got the Blood Angels.
Thousand Suns.
The Thousand Suns, man. Yeah, there's, yeah, it's kind of a
and they're
weird
better
choice.
than Word Bearers, I guess.
That's true. Let's just be glad it's not
better
the
than
Word
the
Bearers.
Word Bearers, better than a Death Guard.
But the Death Guard are also like kind of their poster boys as well for the
which
chaos.
Is weird.
Yeah. The Death Guard models look sick as
They
fuck.
do look really cool.
Like they did really fucking good. Like I think they might be the best models in the entire game.
They
honestly.
do look really cool.
But on that note, talking about the legions, one thing I love about this book is how many legions it represents.
Yeah, there is a lot. Also, like almost every story has an Ultramarine. Just a heads up.
Okay. So one of the things that I found kind of interesting is we're super far into the Heresy. This is book like 15.
This is 16, I think.
16.
No, this is book 18.
Holy shit. We've read 18.
I think so. Yeah, I have it on
Oh
my
my
phone, I can
God.
tell you.
I need to... my brain. So we're so far in the Heresy, and we were talking about this just a minute ago before we started the podcast. We haven't seen from the Night Lords. We haven't seen from the Iron Warriors.
Oh, so this is 16.
16. So we haven't seen from the Night Lords. We haven't seen from the Iron Warriors. We haven't seen from the Blood Angels, the Salamanders, the White Scars, and the Raven Guard.
Yes.
Like those 6 are, and even kind of the Ultramarines.
Yeah, I mean, the only glimpses we've only had glimpses of the Ultramarines. We had, like the wall.
Cestus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say World Eaters?
We kind of have seen World Eaters,
But not from like their point of view, though.
I mean, we've got the short story and Tales of Heresy.
That's true.
We have Angron in the second book and third book. You know, we've met Karn like 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, so I really think that this book does a really good job. It represents Salamanders, represents Night Lords, represents Iron Warriors, and represents a Raven Guard.
Yep.
Still,
A bunch of Ultramarines.
still have not fucking seen the White Scars or the Blood Angels.
Scars are mentioned in this book.
They are mentioned? Okay.
They are.
'Cause I'm
Very,
not 100%
very
done.
small part, but they are there.
And it blows my mind that we have Sanguinius, who's supposed to be like the Emperor's beloved son. And we haven't fucking seen anything of him.
No, just I think it was Horus Rising was the only book he's been in.
Yeah.
And talked.
You see him in Thousand Suns during the Council of Nicaea. He
Yep.
talks to Magnus, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's like,
And he said like 5 words.
yeah. And so I'm wondering, like, where is Sanguinius? Where are the Blood Angels? Well, it makes sense that the White Scars are, like, kind of out there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because, like, they're very secretive, mysterious legion.
Yeah, but we have the fucking Alpha Legion, who's even more mysterious.
And we've had a book about the Alpha Legion. We've had a short story now about the Alpha Legion. They were in the first Heretic with Alfarius.
Yeah, like it's weird how some of like the other legions are just kind of like pushed to the side.
Yeah, I really find it interesting because, like, again, I really think it came down to like a group where they got together, like, which legions do we need to talk about?
I feel like White Scars would be like kind of high up there. I mean,
'Cause
they have
they're the only-
good-looking models.
They
They're
do.
based off Genghis Khan, and a bunch of people are related to that guy.
Yeah, the problem is, he would probably be a bigger thing. I don't think there's a big Asian presence of 40K or Warhammer in general.
Shame. I wonder what like the Asian countries, like if they have like any like popular tabletop games.
Yeah, I wonder, like, what the
Because
culture
like they're really big
is.
into like StarCraft and stuff like that back in the day, like MOBAs, stuff like that. I wonder if that's like just like if they're more video game centric. Maybe the West is more about everything.
Because you see, like, in as far as the competitive scene goes, it's really United States,
I'm sure
parts
Europe's
of
pretty
Europe.
big.
Yeah,
So, I
Europe's
mean,
huge. That's where GW's
yeah.
from. England's huge, but a lot of the European countries are pretty big into it. In Australia, parts of Canada as well. So,
Man, I want to go to fucking Warhammer World so bad.
ah,
That'd be so cool.
I'm so excited for Orlando.
Oh, you should talk about that.
Yeah, so because none of you know, I was going to say for those that do not know, but I don't think we've talked on the Discord about that. I will be competing in the US Open in Orlando for 40K, and I'm expecting to lose pretty hardcore because I am bringing the Tau and they are suffering.
I mean, I'm beating his ass, and I've only played 3 times.
Well, I'm very lenient on you.
Fair enough. So you roll only 1s, and I roll all 6s.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. That was rough. I remember last game I rolled, what was it? I had 26 shots. All I had to do was get 4s, and I got 5 4s.
I don't even think you got that. I think it was like
4?
3 or 4, yeah.
It was nuts.
And you're just like, well, shit.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes. But yeah, so it's cool to see these other legions represented. What's crazy about this is those legions are my favorite legions.
Yeah. At least they're the ones I'm just like the most intrigued about.
You add them to the Thousand Sons and Space Wolves, and that's it. Like, I don't give a fuck about the Ultramarines.
Nope.
I don't give a fuck about the Imperial Fists. I don't even care about the Luna Wolves or World Eaters or Death Guard.
I'm kind of interested in the World Eaters just because they're so crazy.
The
Like, I just want to read a book of them just like decimating planets.
See, that's the problem to me is that is their only trope. Like, the World Eaters
Sure.
are just there to
I
kill
couldn't read
shit.
like a series on them.
Yeah.
But I could read like one solid book. Like ADB Grammar Dan wrote that, and be like, I bet this is gonna be fucking crazy.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I just like, as far as legions go, they're one of my least favorite legions, and I don't know. Maybe if they get like models, that'd be cool. But they don't currently have an army, so maybe I don't know. I'm just not into the whole I'm really good at hit stuff, and that's
Fair,
how Angron
yeah.
talks. He's like the Incredible Hulk without Bruce Banner.
Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, Bruce Banner is what makes the Incredible Hulk so good. That's what I think. Like, it would be really hard.
You must not have read
Planet
World
Hulk.
War Hulk.
I did. You gave it to me.
Oh, yeah.
I read it at your house. Yeah, it was good, but like Hulk was like a civilized person.
Yeah, I guess.
So very different than like Hulk smash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So we're way off topic here.
Yes, we are. So first story, we have Ultramarines. How it starts off is they are fighting other legions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's pretty much the book. We don't want to spoil the ending to you because the way it's written is it kind of like being super secretive and it makes you very confused, and that's the point of the book. So
yeah, after like I saw like one legion, I was just like,
that's
huh?
weird.
Yeah, I was like, why are they there?
Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense.
That's when I figured it out. I was like, oh, this is what's happening.
See, I had no idea until the end, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of fucked up.
Mm-hmm. I actually, yeah, I thought that was because like there were the way certain things were written, like things would happen. I was like, why is that guy like not being imploded or some shit like that? That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So that is Rules of Engagement by Graham McNeil. It was decent.
Yeah, it was just solid. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't care about the Ultramarines.
Let's talk about Liars Do. This was a good one, but it left me a little confused. So Liars Do is about a planet on the outskirts of the Ultimar Segmentum.
Mm-hmm.
That is an aggro planet. Aggro planet?
Sure, yeah.
So basically all I do is farm.
Yeah.
So what did they say? How many people lived on the planet?
I don't remember, but it was like a small
few
colony.
Million.
Yeah.
It's not that big at all.
No.
So basically all they did was farm.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they get a warning that says the Emperor's dead. So automatically I'm like, something is amiss. You know, like, this is weird. So this book is heavily influenced by the Alpha Legion and how the Alpha Legion is playing a very key pivotal role And
Yeah, I thought this was super interesting.
yeah. So the Alpha Legion is responsible, and from what I believe to be a large portion of the world's being taken over.
Oh yeah, because I mean, they just play through fear.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like they don't just like land some Astartes and just start killing everything. Like they just use like their intelligence and just pretty much tricks the planet into thinking like the Emperor's dead and they have to figure out which side they're gonna be on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to think like how pivotal of a role Alpharius is playing.
Yeah, and it's just like this small like every time like this in the book or whatever the story, they're like, no one's ever gonna come to our podunk planet.
Yeah, and he's right.
Yeah.
They just send a dude.
Yeah, it's not even an Astarte, it's just a dude.
And he like the way that he was trained by the Alpha Legion, he's able to infiltrate an entire planet.
Yeah, he reminded me of shit. I can't remember this character's name.
Grammaticus.
No, not Grammaticus. The two soldiers that they brought into the Alpha Legion.
Oh yeah. I don't remember their names.
Yeah,
but Bronzy.
Yeah, Bronzy.
Bronzy and Horatio is his first name. Horatio Bronzy.
Yeah, I can't remember the other guy.
Damn, that was a good book though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very similar to Legion, which is kind of interesting. Who wrote this one?
Not Dan.
Not Dan.
Is it
James Swallow, same guy that did Fly to Eisenstein, and he did another one, didn't he? He did a short story.
Yes, he did Nemesis.
Yeah, and he also did the short story that you hated about
the Sisters of Silence.
Sisters of Silence. Yeah. One thing that confused me about this book is it seemed to be isolated to a town, and I don't see how the rest of the world was affected.
Yeah.
But I think.
Well, it kind of hinted at it.
It didn't matter because that was the important part of the world. Yeah, because they had like a lift for all the grain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really interesting how they're using Alpharius, and there is a really like intriguing debate about whether or not Alpharius is actually a loyal Primarch.
Yeah.
Of course. And one thing that I find interesting is like the planets that he's conquering for the War Master, he's not destroying.
No.
At all. Like maybe a few casualties. Like this guy went in and he killed like one person.
Yeah. Maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. All the other deaths were like literally the civilians killing each other.
Yeah, which is a little fucked up, but like again,
honestly,
like,
what I would expect in that situation, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a good. I mean, yeah, that's what Alpharius does, but a good reason or a good argument to say maybe he's not a traitor Primarch.
Yeah.
But the world may never know with Alpharius.
Yeah, this is very true.
He seriously is such an awesome Primarch, and I hope Games Workshop never tells us what side he's on.
Yeah.
Because he's just that way. It's kind of cool. I would love to make like a Space Marines army that's the Alpha Legion, but they're the Space Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Another tidbit of information that's interesting is the Alpha Legion is one of only 3 legions that did not become corrupted by chaos, that were traitors, and one of only 2 that like didn't like actually start to take on like corrupted forms, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah. But like you can play them on the tabletop that way, but like lore wise they're basically the most pure traitor legion out there, and they didn't like most of the legions fled into the warp. They did not. They were one of 2 that did not flee into the warp. Kind of cool. Yeah. So that's that story. It was okay. It seemed it was the whole point of the story was to like tell us how Alpharius is being used.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish that story was probably like 2 stories later, just because there's so many battles. That's like the only one that's not really like a battle.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked it to break it up more.
It's taking it's also in the Ultimar Segmentum.
Yeah.
So more space or Ultramarines stuff going on. So one thing that you get from this book that is definitely a thing that happens in the heresy is you really have two major theaters of war. You have Horus's march to Terra, and then you have the destruction of Ultramar.
Mm-hmm.
So they're two like completely. It's almost like during World War II when the United States was like in the Pacific and in Europe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Horus is playing a two-front war. He sends certain legions after certain things. You know, as we see with the Word Bearers, we know the Word Bearers are going to Ultramar.
Yeah.
Horus did that because the Word Bearers was the second largest legion.
That, and I mean, they fucking hate the Ultramarines.
Exactly. So he's like, that's perfect. I can like make this work for me. So that worked out a lot. And then we get Forgotten Sons. I'm in the middle of reading this. Fucking love it, of course.
This one is really good. This is probably my second favorite one.
This one is by Nick Keim. Nick Keim also writes Vulcan Lives.
Oh yeah, I think he did another short story too, but I don't remember what else he's done.
Yeah, I don't remember his short story in the previous one. He also does Deathfire, which I think is also a Salamanders thing. So I think this is one of those situations where, like, as Graham was telling us, like, they kind of liked certain legions.
Yeah.
And Nick kind of really liked the Salamanders, which I totally get.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. It follows a Ultramarine after Calth and a Salamander after Isfan 5.
Written really cool. Like,
yeah. It's very interesting. So, like, they both suffer from PTSD.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like the, like, mental, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, issues, I guess, that they're having, like, throughout the story. I thought was really cool.
So, one of the things I find interesting about this, too, is, like, the Salamanders in particular, I think, have a problem with PTSD.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, a link they have to their Primarch specifically, and a trait that Vulcan has. I don't want to like spoil anything, but we have talked on the podcast before about how Vulcan is a perpetual, and that means he can't die physically, just like the Emperor.
Yeah. Or Grammaticus.
Or yeah, John Grammaticus. Yeah. But Vulcan has this issue where, like, if he dies really hard, his brain gets all fucked up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he'll forget who he is and that kind of shit.
Huh.
Yeah. So the Salamanders kind of take on that trait sometimes, and they suffer a lot from PTSD. And I think that has a lot to do also with the way their legion is, because they're kind of like the most innocent of the legions.
Yeah.
So, like, in the beginning of this, it talks about how they have branded in their skin.
Yeah.
An oath of the moment.
Yeah.
And it's protect the weak. Right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Protect the weak. So that's like the whole Salamander's role. Is the protection of the Imperium. And not just like the Imperium as in like Rogal Dorn's protecting Terra. Like they protect the humans.
Yeah, and you see that in the story too. Like there is she's like a servitor who's there, and like he like makes it his duty to make sure she's safe.
Yeah. Which fucking love the Salamanders, because if you think about it, they're really the perfect fucking legion.
Yeah.
Like they're the legion that if for instance the Emperor completed the Great Crusade, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it all worked out.
They would be the guys I would want.
Yeah, because you know, the Imperial Fist would be really great for setting up defenses. Fantastic. Maybe they can stick around, right? The Ultramarines would be really good police guys.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the Salamanders are going to be the ones that like make it their duty to just protect humanity.
Right.
And you wouldn't need the Dark Angels. You wouldn't need the Space Wolves. You wouldn't need 90% of the legions out. Well, 90's that's not a correct number, but you wouldn't need a majority of the legions out there because it doesn't make sense to keep them at that point. Where the Salamanders, I think, make the most sense to be like, this is what the legions should look like after. Remember in Tales of Heresy, the First Heretic.
Okay.
When they discuss the genetic flaws
Mhm.
The Imperial Fists, actually, the Salamander's genetic flaw was that the suns of where they go affect them more.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Which is like a great genetic flaw compared to the other genetic flaws of the other
you're
legions
getting
have.
like turned inside out. You're turning
Yeah.
into this bloodlust monster.
Exactly.
Or...
I love how like the Chaos Gods are like, we're gonna fuck all these legions up. They come to the Salamanders. You're black. Shit.
Could have way worse.
Yeah, well, comparatively in this world, you absolutely could. But it's so funny to me that like, and almost it's kind of a little racist by Games Workshop to be like, your genetic flaw is you're black. It's hard.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. But it's kind of funny, and also, like, I think the Salamanders, like, everyone knows that has been listening to us. I fucking love the Salamanders.
Yeah.
I just really think that they are like the Legion. I think Vulcan is the man, and I think the Emperor has like a bigger plan for him later on. I hope so. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what we need to know going into Forgotten Sons.
So I guess what you would really need to know, you have to remember it's on 5, obviously. One thing about like this Ultramarine, he was actually like injured before all the shit went down. So like he like didn't even like he wasn't even at Calth, I don't think.
So it's very similar to like Garo, who got injured before Isfahan 3.
Yeah, except like he feels like shit because he wasn't there to like help his legion. Like he was like, if I should have just died there, at least I would have tried to help them at the time. So like he's not only like battling like it's part of PTSD, but he also has like this like he's like ashamed of himself that he wasn't able to help his legion, and that's kind of the dynamic they have here. You will see the Iron Warriors and kind of some things that they have set up on other planets.
Yeah, it has to do with the Salamanders, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, Salamanders run into that a lot.
Yep. Really, that's it. I mean, this isn't like anything like crazy. We have an assassin in here.
Oh shit.
I don't know if it's actually like part of like the Assassinorium, but there's an actual assassin there.
Okay. Is it an Imperial assassin?
No.
So it's probably not part of the Assassinorium.
It's interesting.
Okay.
The whole thing's kind of weird.
Then we have The Last Remembrancer by John French. I don't know if John French has written anything.
I don't think he's done any books. I think he was in Tales, though. I think he wrote a short.
Okay.
Maybe.
So Last Remembrancer has to deal with literally, like you said, the Last Remembrancer.
This is the Last Remembrancer. He was actually one of the first two. He is a writer, like a story writer, and he was captured by Horus and sent back, and he was found by Dorn. And this all takes place on I can't think of the planet. It's in our solar system, but
Saturn.
It might be Saturn. Iacton Cruz is actually the like warden of this facility. It's basically like
Iacton Cruz.
Yep, Iacton Cruz. He made a oath of moment to the Emperor, and his whole thing is to interrogate people that they capture on this planet.
That's a role for Iacton too. What I love about characters like Iacton is I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I really like him, and this like he wears his gray armor with no like sigils or anything.
So he's a blank.
Yeah,
I like that.
I kind of wish he like still would have had like a Luna Wolf on there or something, just to be like
he's the old Legion, a Legion that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Instead of just being like this blank one, I think it'd been cool if he was like, I'm still a Luna Wolf. I'm not a Sons of Horus. Fuck that guy. But we have like, it's basically like him and Dorn and this Remembrancer the whole time, and the Remembrancer telling, a story, and it's whether Iacton Cruz and Rogo Dorn have to figure out what he's saying is the truth or not.
I like that. I always like having Rogo Dorn in the short stories, because it kind of like makes you remember that Dorn's doing this whole thing on Terra.
Yeah.
You know,
Pretty much.
like it's not really super worthy of a book, but to kind of just be like, oh, by the way, Dorn's building these defenses, and he's also in Terra. Like it's cool to know that like he's the Primarch that does that shit, and he's just always like in the back of your mind, and you know that eventually shit's gonna hit the
this
fan.
literally just hit my head or my brain. So we whatever. Anyway, you know how in Horus Rising, like Rogal Dorn stops by the Luna Wolves, then he's like, "Oh, I'm on my way back to Terra to fortify it or whatever." Do you think that the Emperor called for him after Magnus destroyed the Webway? And that's why he called for Rogal Dorn?
So no.
You don't think so?
No, because Rogal Dorn was called back to Terra in the first book. Remember, he met with the War Master in the first book? We know that Magnus didn't talk to Horus until the second book, right? And that was his second...
No, that's true.
That was his
Man,
first
time's
ritual.
so messy.
His first ritual was to talk to Horus in the warp.
Yeah.
And his second ritual was to warn the Emperor. So Rogal Dorn in the first book was already making his way back to Terra.
That's true.
So the question is, why did the Emperor request Rogal Dorn back to Terra? Maybe we talk about it in the next podcast.
No, yeah, that'd be a good talk. That's kind of it for The Lost Remembrance, or that you should really know.
It's a really short one.
Yeah, that one's like only 30 pages. I think.
Not even 28.
Yeah.
$26.
I was like, all right, do you need help reading?
Bad. All right, and then we have Rebirth by Chris Wright.
Right, I think.
Right, my bad.
I know Chris writes more. I think he does in the 40K at least. I don't know how much he does in the Heresy.
Yeah, I like the idea that the Black Library employs all these different authors to write different things.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're doing an anthology series in the 40K. Everyone just submit something.
Yeah.
For the Horus Heresy. Like, everyone submit something. And all these 40K writers are feeling like, oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, let me write about this. Yeah.
Rebirth.
Rebirth follows the Raven Guard.
Yes.
And we have this, like...
Wait a minute. Is that the Raven Guard one?
Yes.
I thought the
think.
Raven Guard one was...
Oh, wait. Did I mix things up?
Yes.
It's very possible.
The Raven Guard was the face of treachery.
Shoot, let me see that.
Oh, no.
let me double check.
There's so many stories in here.
Rebirth,
9 stories.
Page 203. Hold on.
I remember you talking about... Oh, no, this is the 1,000 Sun.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. So, in this one, we have a group of 1,000 Suns who are not at Prospero at the time come back, and they find their planet destroyed. And as they are walking the planet, they get ambushed by another legion. Mm-hmm. I won't say who, because it's
interesting.
It's interesting, and it's kind of a mystery until like halfway through.
Okay.
And because like the whole time, like he's like, man, I can't see shit in here because like his like eyes are like so swollen or something, so he like can't see for the longest time, and he doesn't have his powers back, and he is a is it the Corvidae that can read minds? Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's a Corvidae, and like he's like doesn't have any power at the moment. And then like finally like he's able to start seeing, and it's like a big reveal on not only what legion but who is interrogating him.
Okay. I find it interesting like how this works, because we know that there are people in legions, and we definitely have seen 1,000 Suns with like Motep, right? That they're like their main legion is here, and they're like way over here.
I'm gonna tell you the name, and let me know if you remember it from 1,000 Suns, because I couldn't remember him at all. I was like, maybe he wasn't it, but I always forget.
I don't think there were any 1,000 Suns in the book 1,000 Sun that just sets off and doesn't come back.
Miss Calliston.
No.
4th captain.
No.
Okay.
So what's interesting is we've talked about 1,000 Suns. Now we've read 1,000 Suns. We see that Ahriman casts this crazy spell that winds them up on the planet of sorcerers.
Yep.
What happens to the other 1,000 Suns?
Well, they didn't teleport.
Yeah, so like do they find their way back? Are those like people just doomed? And it makes you wonder, like even in the 40K timeline, are there just like space marines out there like we once belonged?
Yeah,
to
or maybe
this?
they like, still don't even know. Like, I remember like reading the story about this one dude who was on an island after World War II had ended,
Mm-hmm.
and he had been there for like 40 years, and
Yeah.
he never knew the war ended.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like holy shit.
And especially when you think about the expanse of the galaxy,
Yeah,
the amount of planets that humanity has,
it's
it wouldn't be crazy to think that people didn't even know, still don't know that the heresy happened 10,000 years after the fact. It's really weird to think about the fact that, oh, yeah, this is a book about the Thousand Sons Legion, but this is not all the Thousand Sons.
yeah.
So here's a little short story about some that came back. It's kind of like a while ago. This always is kind of what blows my mind, and something I like to do. I remember when we played the role. It is tabletop, but it's not like miniature.
Oh,
tabletop.
like the D&D version of the Warhammer that you made, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a blast. And it's kind of cool to think of like you can literally create a story like that within the 40K universe, and it makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did when I was younger was I actually played like the actual tabletop 40K.
Uh-huh.
And we would discover like lost ancient titans and look for like SCPs and shit like
cool.
that. And
Yeah.
it's like this stuff could very 100% well be happening. And you even think about the animated series, which has a lot of controversial stuff around it right now. The Astartes series.
Yeah.
Everyone's always wondering like, which Astartes chapter is that? What are they doing? And like the answer's always been, who fucking knows? Like that could be an evil Astartes, a good Astartes, like
Could also be I can't say because of copyright.
that is very true. That's why I don't do a lot of talking. But yeah, like there's so many, especially in the 40K universe, because of something that Gilliman does.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden these huge legions are broken down into smaller sub chapters to where you have no idea.
Right.
So it's really cool to see like the expanse of the 40K universe, and I think that's outlined pretty well.
Yeah.
And the fact that like just this random shit is always happening.
Yep.
And even these big characters wind up in these random places.
Mhm.
It always makes me think like when I'm reading about Remembrancer and they get to know a Primarch, I'm like, this Remembrancer probably is like a speck of dust in the Primarch's mouth.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like when Magnus was talking to Lumiel, I was like, if you ask Magnus about that today, he'd be like, oh, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's just like if we were to talk to like, a president, someone who's, famous or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember us.
But I mean,
Graham might.
Like, crazy. He had like crazy conversations with Lumiel,
Yeah.
But who knows? All right, then we get the Face of Treachery. We finally get to see some fucking Raven Guard.
We do. It's pretty cool. So this is the one that I was starting to talk about from the Rebirth, but it was not Rebirth. It was this one.
We get to see Raven Guard and we get to see Corvus Corax. So one thing to know about the Raven Guard before going into this is they are the stealthy legion. So they tend to work in smaller units. They tend to infiltrate first and then strike when they think you're at your weakest moment, kind of thing.
Yeah. So in this one, they are heading towards Isfahan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a company's worth, I believe, and they get word that Corvus Corax is alive.
Okay.
And the whole thing is trying to get to him. And like we also have their point of view. We also have the point of view of some world eaters who are pretty upset that they didn't get to go down to Isfahan to murder their brothers.
Yeah, that would be something the world eaters are upset about.
This captain specifically was like, I can't believe we were, just bombardment duty. And Grunt had the right idea, just going down and murdering them. And he's like trying to get his revenge and is like hell bent on taking down actually a salamander group that they were chasing. And then they get word of this Raven Guard group that he goes after.
It's so crazy to think of the scale of battle of Isfahan 5.
Yeah.
Because you think like these legions get surrounded, but the battle was like miles long.
Yeah.
So like groups did escape. Like Salamanders and Raven Guard groups, they did escape.
Mm-hmm.
Was their legion fucked? Absolutely. Their legion was fucked. But there are groups of Salamanders. There are groups of Raven Guard. I will say
there's groups of Iron Fists.
Yeah, Iron Hands, yeah.
Iron Hands, yeah.
Yeah. Imperial
Iron
Fists,
Fist is Marvel.
Iron Hands. Iron Fist is a Marvel character, that's true. But
we actually see them in the next story, I believe.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love seeing that shit. I love seeing these smaller legions finally making a thing. I will say though, when it came to Isfahan 5, the legion that got the shortest end of the stick was the Raven Guard. They got fucked up. There were some Salamander chapters that were not chapters, companies that weren't there.
They're smart.
Yeah, and a lot more Salamanders escaped Isfahan 5. Almost all of the Raven Guard were there, like pretty much the entire legion, and not a lot of them escaped.
Yeah, I mean, even I read like what Corvus does, but like I know, like at the end of this book, he's like, all right, you guys are going here. Us, we're going to Terra.
Yeah.
To see the Emperor.
Because like Corvus got fucked hard after Isfahan 5.
Yeah.
Like Vulcan is in a spot where he can still do some shit.
Yeah.
And still make a decent
be
impact.
Competent.
Yeah. Chorus Corax is a one-man army after Isfahan 5. It's pretty much what happens, which is kind of what he has to do anyway. Yeah. Even till this day, in like playing the 40k tabletop, a large majority of the units they use are humans on their way to becoming Astartes. They're still fucked 10,000 years later. Like Isfahan 5 fucked the Raven Guard up. So the Raven Guard had to adapt to use a lot more humans in their legion to figure that out. It's kind of cool. So this is like a rescue story of Horus Corax.
Yep.
Because we kind of know that Corax survives because he flies off at the end of First Heretic. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in one of the Galaxy in Flames, or Flight of Eisenstein, they mentioned that like they can't find like some of them or something like that.
They couldn't.
They can't find like Vulcan
and Corax.
Yeah.
They were both gone, and they also couldn't find. They said that there was a bunker on Isfahan 3 that a few of the like loyalist traitor legions like Loken.
Yes.
Loken. They gave a pretty big hint that Loken survived.
Yeah. Well, we'll see later, maybe, hopefully.
See what happens.
I mean, I actually know what happens with Loken, so I'm not gonna say much.
Yeah. Then we got Little Horus. Little Horus is about Little Horus.
Yes, this is about little Aximon Horus.
If you guys don't remember, Aximon is one of the Morning Vault members that turned traitor. You kind of get this idea at the end of the third book that he was not like super gung-ho about being traitor.
Oh, it kind of resonates in this too. So this book follows Little Horus, and they are going down onto this planet to look for some Iron Hands.
Oh. Okay.
And it's pretty cool. They're also like fighting like a whole like other like alien race too. So like most of it's with the alien race. And you see some other Astartes later on.
Okay.
But this big thing is like at one point he's talking with what's his name? Abaddon. And he's like, we need to find 2 other members of the Mornival. And they kind of talk about like the importance of it and like why they should have it. And like they won't mention Loken or Torgadon. Like they mention like every other like previous Mornival members except for those 2. And kind of talks about how like Aximon only wants someone who has the gene where they look like Horus. They call them the True Sons.
Yeah.
So he only wants True Sons in there. Abaddon's kind of like indifferent, and they kind of just talk about that a little bit.
That's interesting.
the whole time, like Axamon kind of is like thinking of Loken and Torgadon, and he like actually like says Loken's name at one point to himself. But like this whole story, he keeps hearing like this breathing, as if someone's in the room with him. He keeps having the same dream too. That there's someone like there with him, and it's like fucking him up, and it's pretty interesting.
Because he kills
Torgadon.
Torgadon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He was the one that killed Torgadon, and that's rough.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really interested in Axamon's character. I kind of secretly hope there's a redemption arc in there somewhere for him.
I could see it.
I hope like that becomes a thing, but we'll see. I really like redemption arcs. I think there's a lot of stories that don't utilize them enough.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think the Axamon's character is like the perfect candidate for this kind of thing. Yeah, but Axamon's awesome. I will say the Iron Hands too. Kind of going back to this Spawn 5, they got out pretty well because not a lot of them were there. The Iron Hands was actually at a. They didn't have a majority of their legion there, but they did lose their Primarch.
Yep.
Obviously, so that was a blow.
A little bit.
A majority of the Iron Hands are still out there doing stuff. And I'm curious to see where they end up because I actually don't know. I know where most of the legions end up.
Yeah.
And the Iron Hands is one that I'm not sure about. It might be the only one I'm not sure about where they end up. So I hope we get to see some of that. Then we get the Iron Within.
This is my favorite book or story.
Talk about a legion that has not been represented yet. The Iron Warriors.
So this is all Iron Warriors. So the
no Ultramarines.
There's an Ultramarine.
God, of course there is.
One. There is one Ultramarine.
Okay.
But this story follows a former captain. He's basically like stuck on this planet and just like fortified it. And a group of Iron Warriors came and they're like, "Hey, we need you in this for Perturabo." And he's like, "Did you guys turn away from the Emperor?" He's like, "Yep." "Well, fuck you guys. Get out.
Cool.
I will kill you all."
So I'll say one thing about the Iron Warriors that I find really interesting compared to the other Traitor Legions is they fall prey to a bunch of infighting. Their legion, more than any other legion, does not want to betray the Emperor. And it's actually, like, Perturabo, it's difficult to understand why he wanted to betray the Emperor.
Yeah.
Basically, it comes down to the Emperor was a bad dad.
Yeah, everything I've ever read has been like he just didn't feel appreciated enough.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, like he's a badass.
Yeah.
Perturabo's a fucking badass. But like he's so badass that he's like, yeah, I'll be traitor. But he didn't even like the traitors.
Yeah.
So, he's another one of those legions that was just like, we don't worship any chaos god fuckery.
Yeah.
Because he hated chaos. The Iron Warriors in general hate chaos. They're just like, fuck
Iron
that.
within, iron without.
Yeah. So they're just kind of doing their own fucking thing. But they're all amazing. But you think about in the first Heretic, when you get that thing where they're doing a lot of friendly fire.
Yeah.
And they get in the Vox column. They're like, hey, you got to stop that. And the Iron Warriors just laugh at them. You're dying today. That's pretty much what they said. And it's a very Iron Warrior. So they're kind of like dark and fucked up. But there are a lot of them don't want to betray the Emperor.
Yeah.
They're just badasses at what they do.
And this is a really cool story about it. Like the way this is like a really shitty planet. Like it should not have ever been able to be like fortified. Like it has like acid rain, so like all metal just like gets turned into rust that gets on it. They literally live in like a crater inside of a cave. And it's like this like hanging like upside down like castle basically.
Huh.
And that he has made it to where like it's basically this ultimate stronghold.
Right, because the important thing about the Iron Warriors is like they very much so rival the Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
And how just like amazing they are at the tactics of defending, building, fortification. It makes you wonder why the Emperor chose Rogaldorn over Perturabo for the defenses of Terra.
Yeah.
But it might have been one of those things like I discussed previously. Maybe he thought Perturabo was already fallen.
Yeah, that's true.
So kind of interesting. I'm very excited for that book. I can't wait to read about the Iron Warriors. I have a feeling I'm going to fall in love with them.
It was a really cool story. I liked it a lot.
Then we get Savage Weapons.
So I have not finished this one yet. I have probably about 30 pages left. So this one follows the Dark Angels because we can't have a book for the Dark Angels.
I'm fine with that though.
It's ADV.
I've gotten
So it's
like
good.
more interested in Dark Angels as it's going on. I'm not saying
See,
they're
I'm
like
interested
good Legion,
in
but I like reading
the
about them.
Fallen and not the actual Dark Angels.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying there.
Because I really like Luther,
Mhm.
and I cannot stand the Lion. But
The current 40k lore actually is pretty embedded with Luther, so you might enjoy
Nice.
like what's going on there.
yeah, that sounds awesome. But so this one follows, so far that I know of, it's the Dark Angels, and they are in a pretty much a stalemate fighting
Night
kind of
Lords.
occurs.
Conquerors and the Night
Yeah.
Lords, yeah. So, this is another one of those stories that I feel like happened too soon.
Yeah.
But basically, what Horus charged Comrade Kurz with was stalling the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And Conrad Kurz fucking kills it. As he is Conrad
Yeah.
Kurz. So Conrad Kurz, like, he knows his Legion can't, like, beat the lion, but his Legion's never been about winning.
Right.
Like, that's not what they do. They're just really, really good at striking when they have the advantage.
Yeah.
Where, like, the lion is very much like, let's have an honorable duel. Conrad Kurz would, like, laugh. He's like,
Yep.
I'm going to try and kill you when you're asleep. You know, like, that is
Yeah.
his... They are two very opposite Primarchs. And, the Night Lords are sent out to delay the Dark Angels. And man, oh man, the Night Lords, that is like right up their fucking alley.
Yeah.
Because the Night Lords will send in 10 people to the 1,000
Mm-hmm.
Dark Angels. And they won't win. They know they
Yeah.
won't win. That's not their job to
Right.
win. Right? So they're playing the objective is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
so
thing
it's
they
like,
talk about, like the Lions even like mentions in this, he's like, we're not gonna be able to make it to Terra on time, so we just gotta do what we can out here.
yeah. It kind of blows my mind that like you have the first.
Yeah.
And the Emperor's like, if I got a job that needs to get done, I give it to the first. And Horus is like, if I know someone that can stop someone from doing a job, it's the Night Haunter. And that's exactly what happens. Like, you have these two forces, and the Night Haunter loses but wins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, he knew he was going to lose, but he was going to make it the most advantageous for him. So you have the first, the Legion, that the Emperor depends on.
Right.
Like, the shit that was going to stop Horus. And he was like, I can't make it to Terra.
We also had the line, giving Portorabo fucking take weapons.
The
so.
siege weapons. Oh, it's fucking crazy. I was always wondering if they were going to give the siege weapons to use in Islam 5, but I think it's going to be at the Siege of Terra.
I just want to see like the Lion sit in there with someone and like the siege weapons come out. And they're like, how'd they get that? And the Lion's like, yeah, that's weird.
Wild.
I don't know how they got those things.
Must have been Alpha Legion. Who knows?
Damn.
Every time the Lion's flaws come up, he's like, Alpha Legion.
Fucking Alfarius again.
Alfarius, it's definitely him, and no one can dispute him because no one knows. No one can say it's not Alfarius. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I will say, one of the things I found kind of funny about this second story about the Alpha Legion was the character that was in the Alpha Legion was like, I met a Primarch once, but I'm not going to let him know the information. In my mind, I was like, I bet you he's never met the Primarch. It was just like some space marine was like, I am Alfarius. And he was like, sweet.
So, that's not the only bit of the Alpha Legion you see this book.
That's not it? Oh, okay.
You see more Alpha Legion.
I'm
It's
excited.
really cool.
I'm excited. I'm kind of pumped. This book is really good because it's like jumping around legions.
Yeah.
Like the last anthology had a lot to do with like the last church, which was amazing.
Yeah.
You had, I don't know, just kind of random stuff in there. And this is like, let's just take all the legions that don't have a lot of love and just fucking talk about it.
Yeah, I'm curious when the next anthology after this is called The Primarchs. And I'm very intrigued by it because one of them is called The Cracked Mirror or something like that. And it's Fulgrim.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious now, like, how he's doing.
It makes me mad that like literally after this book, the two legions that we have not heard anything about pretty much is the Blood Angels and the White Scars.
Yeah.
Like, barely seen anything about them. And so, like, we're still holding out hope for those two.
Yep.
Eventually we'll see them.
Yep, so I think that's where we're going to end our preview, guys. I guess I didn't mention this at the beginning, but as always, you can leave us questions. Mm-hmm. You can shoot the shit with us. You can tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and what you want to see more of.
Yeah, let us know what we're doing wrong. We're going to try and correct it as much as possible.
Yes. We want this to be a great experience for you guys. Remember, we're also brought into YouTube, so we're going to have great things going on there. We'll be putting out a video soonish about, all of our full plans and everything that we want there, too, as well. So in order to do all those things, though, you can email us at theheresylodge@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at heresylodge. Our Discord is pinned to our Twitter, so you can join there, shoot the shit with us. It's always a good time in there. I already said the YouTube, but you should get on the YouTube.
Get on the YouTube.
Yeah, like and subscribe, please, because that helps us out a lot. And the more people that can see this, the more things that we're more likely to do.
I want all the comments on Dylan's truffle shuffle and my giraffe neck. I want it all.
I will truffle shuffle if we get 1,000 likes on this video.
That's
just so you know.
That's
yeah, exactly. It's never gonna happen.
The first
time, up to you guys.
The first time we ever get 1,000 likes on a video, Dylan will truffle shuffle.
We'll see if I don't lose weight by then. I might. It depends how long it takes.
I'm not holding out.
Well, guys, that is it for us. We will see you next week for our review of part 1. Not sure which books we will plan out.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I'll see you guys next week, and have a good one.